Wieners.
I'm keeping that.
Recorded.
In perpetuity.
Oscar Mayer Wieners.
We just heard Becky's like, Oscar Mayer Wieners.
That's the entire
She's talking
episode.
about her dad, by the way.
Don't you be... No, we're not. You motherfuckers. This is what happens when you let the
What
media...
What were we talking about before then, Becky?
A dirty
Your dad's
Persian.
uncut cock.
No, you guys were talking about that. I was not talking about that. I told you guys to start the podcast episode on a topic in which
And then
not
you're the
about
one who's
it.
saying Oscar Mayer Wiener as we go in.
I just thought it was funny. It's all I could think of.
Bun-length wieners.
What?
Bun length.
Oh, but I thought you said butt length, and I was like,
Same
what
thing.
that
That's
is
for your mom.
You can ask your mom that too.
I would like to officially announce my resignation to this podcast.
Not accepted.
This is my official resignation.
You know who announced her official resignation from the royal family?
That's awful. Oh, I thought you were about to say her official resignation from life.
Both.
Sure.
One kind of did lead to the other.
Simultaneously.
Okay.
But first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Angie, and I'm joined by Chris
Hola.
and Becky.
Hi.
Oscar Mayer Wiener.
Yes, that's my last name.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Without all the Z's and G's.
Yeah.
Like,
You just throw a Z and like a weird like squiggly line
and a
somewhere.
B
It's
and
very
maybe
close.
a G, and yeah, you've got Becky's last
And
name.
yeah, like a letter that's silent but doesn't make sense.
Oscar is like a Gongameyer Wiener.
And
Gungemeyer.
whatever letter makes the sound.
That's Becky choking on the Oscar Mayer Wiener. You proud of me, Daddy?
It's my turn to edit this episode.
My
is it
turn
not?
to episode this edit, isn't it?
You're having an episode, that's for
I
sure.
am. I will be editing this episode this week, guys.
That's okay. We're going to roll this directly into our topic.
Hey guys, conveniently the computer decided to cut out the entire intro of what this podcast is about. So what we're talking about today is Diana, Princess of Wales. Now take it away, Angie.
Accidente.
Accidente, quote unquote. Although, we will gauge it with a lot of this is the...
Exactly.
This is not an official, like, unsolved mystery, but there are a lot of people who think that what
a lot
happened...
of unsolved elements and, and unanswered questions.
And there are a lot of people who don't believe that she just died randomly in a car accident.
Right. And we're going to go into a couple of reasons why. And by couple of reasons, I mean like 8 pages worth. I'm just kidding. It's like 3. It's not a lot. And the reason I thought it would be a good time to do this is because today, as we're recording, it's August 28th. And Diana died August 31st, 1997. So continuing our
Like random timing.
random date stamp.
Yeah, random timing of things that happened.
Yeah. So on August 31st, 1997, Diana was fatally injured in a car crash in the Pont de l'Alma road tunnel in Paris.
Pont de l'Alma? Is it Ponce de Leon?
No, it's Pont de l'Alma.
Okay.
Well, it's actually Pont de l'Alma.
Okay, that's just funny.
But we're going to call it the Pont de l'Alma road tunnel in Paris.
We are the most southern people to do this episode. The Ponce de l'Alma?
I heard they killed that princess over yonder.
In that Pont de l'Alma tunnel. We are very southern on this podcast.
She wasn't our princess. We got freeze from the Brits.
I would have accepted her. But so although the official cause was concluded as a drunk driver, their driver was drunk. Literally a drunk driver.
Right. The person who
Angie,
was
that's not funny.
chauffeuring them.
Yes. And being chased by the paparazzi caused a loss of control. They hit a pillar. No one was wearing seatbelts. The end.
Right. That was all she wrote at the time. But you know how it do be.
Right, because many theories still live on to this day. For instance, was the crash the result of aggressive paparazzi? Did they inadvertently cause it as opposed to the driver? Mm-hmm. And, I mean, that's also like, yes. But some people think that's a bigger scheme into, did MI6 or even members of the royal family stage the accident to keep Diana from marrying the Muslim Dodi Al-Fayed and having his baby? There was lots of rumors that she was
Pregnant.
pregnante.
Pregnant.
Am I pregnante?
Am I pregnant?
This is the American version of what happened in England, or for the English people.
Malasaga.
We probably should have done a serious episode today.
How the hell if pregnant?
And to be fair, recent evidence has come up even as early as 2013 where researchers, they've decided that the crash really was a plot that was planned by the
The multiple sclerosis, yes.
Those sons of
bastards.
bitches. Damn them and their crooked extra length spines.
They're basically cyborgs. We can't compete.
This took a weird conspiracy theory turn. Just FYI. It was cyborgs the entire fucking time.
Those crutches are filled with children's blood. I know it.
They're getting around scooter. They get around all right. The crash was planned by MI6 with the help of the British military. A former SAS soldier claims that he worked with an assassination team called the Increment. And then another soldier, what started this whole research into it was another soldier told the exact same story to his family and said that he worked with this assassination team. So all of the, bullshit got brought back up. And, but even better, there was a witness. There were 3 witnesses who saw it, and they all reported that right before the car crash, there was a very bright light that shone directly at the driver.
Wasn't it also like, and it's like when you vaguely remember things, because I remember I was like 9 when this happened, or however old I was. I vaguely remember it was that they went into the tunnel and then that was it. Like nobody saw what happened.
Right. No CCTVs down there, but
Right.
there were 3 witnesses.
Right.
Who, by the way, the other cars couldn't see, because I seriously doubt those people would have been left.
Right.
Especially the one guy who was right beside the car. And he said there was a motorcycle that stopped. A passenger on the motorcycle got off, looked at the car, did some kind of hand motion to the driver, got back on, and it drove off. Well, Princess Diana, she, like the rest of us, had, her childhood. She wasn't always Princess Diana.
Right.
She was Diana Spencer, born July 1st in 1961. And she actually was born into the British nobility, and she grew up really close to the royal family. Her family, the Spencers, in 1504, were given a coat of arms and were actually one of the oldest living allies of the royal family.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, so she grew up close enough to the point that she called the Queen Mother Aunt Lilibet. Now, I don't know of many people who get away with
Calling the Queen,
the
thug.
Aunt Lilibet. And she continued to call her Aunt Lilibet for a very long time. When Diana was 7, her parents got divorced. And it wasn't congenial. It wasn't amicable at all. Her mom ended up remarrying Lord Kidd, and her dad, she had gone to do Christmas holidays with her dad, and when it came time for her to go back home to her mom, he was like, "You're not going back there. You're going to stay here." And she said her childhood was awful, just really not happy. And she said when he remarried, her stepmother was just such a bully. But, okay, she says her stepmom was the bully, but it was Diana who was reported yeeting her stepmom down the stairs in an argument. So
it's like when you get to the point of just being sick of somebody's shit, you're like, let's just end her.
Yeah. And then she grew up with the 2 princes, Edward and the other one. Not Charles.
Jon Snow.
Yeah. And she knew them pretty well. Like, she grew up playing with them. They were her friends.
Charles. Harry.
Philip.
Oh,
maybe.
Philip would have,
There's
maybe.
a bunch
Philip's
of
the queen. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
They all named themselves the same 6 names because they're all white. So
Yeah.
we'll just go with whatever it is.
But a lot of people thought that she would probably marry Edward. But no, she met Charles at a summer retreat in 1980. And she went to watch him play polo, and he saw her and was introduced to her again. Well, she'd already met him because in 1977, he dated her older sister, Sarah. Because keep in mind, Charles is 12 years older than she is. But he was introduced to her, and he was like, she's like serious bride potential.
She looked like she, checked the boxes real good.
Exactly. Like, she dinged on every level. He took her to meet the 2 queens, the Queen Mother and Queen Elizabeth, and they both were like, well, yeah, she's our good friend, and we know her.
And, she's already, checked out, in the 1500s. Her family were like, okay, cool.
Right.
Deuces.
Plus, she was getting good publicity. People really liked her. And they were like, yeah, sure. They gave their blessing. They got engaged on February 6th, but they kept it quiet for 2.5 weeks until she went and picked out her ring. And a lot of people believe that, Camilla was always his love. They believe that he needed time to break it to Camilla. Like, hey,
sorry.
we're going to have to sneak around.
Forever and always, as you did forever.
Well, in some of the biographies and accounts, he really did try it first. But,
yeah,
the heart wants what it wants. And she tried. And they just were two very, very, very different people.
It was definitely a marriage of convenience. If you look at
And
it,
she didn't understand that. She thought she was
getting her
marrying.
fairy tale wedding.
She did.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, it's funny you say that. There's 4 things that are really unique about Diana's engagement to Charles. 1, she was the first English woman to marry the first in line in 300 years.
Oh, shit.
Right? It's crazy. She was also the first to have a paying job before she got engaged.
Also kind of stupid,
Yeah.
but sure.
She was, in case you're wondering, she was, what do you call those people who take care of kids?
Teacher?
Yeah, like a...
Caretaker?
A nanny?
It's like where you send them off to the place. Daycare. She was a daycare teacher's assistant.
Oh,
which,
okay.
by the way, freaking adorable. I just think that's so adorable.
I think there takes a lot of patience for a person to be like a daycare assistant worker and be okay
Because
with it.
as the assistant, you're the one doing all the dirty stuff.
Yeah.
Preparing the food.
Kids.
Yeah.
I was about to say, like, you just put a child in a direction and hope that they don't run into something. That's all you do at daycares.
So, in their marriage, she got his name wrong. His name is like Charles Philip Edward George or some bullshit
Yeah.
like that. She said Philip Charles and just got his name completely wrong. And then also the royal family had no idea she was going to do this. And Charles agreed to let her do it. She took out the vow obey.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she was like,
She was a 21st century woman.
I ain't
Yeah.
obeying no man.
Yeah.
which already I think that she was already appealing to women.
Yeah.
Like, hey, she's worked with kids. She took out the obey. Like, she's her own person.
Well, and to be fair, like, it's not like the royal family was really on the up and up of contemporary traditions and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure. Wasn't it just recently they did some, like, the whole marrying outside of your,
Right.
like, the royal family
Right.
was not a thing that would have happened.
Exactly. And think of how Prince Harry and his wife, which I can't remember her name.
Megan,
Yeah.
not the stallion, but just Megan.
Yeah. Megan.
Markle.
Yeah. Megan Harry.
Megan.
Harry's Megan.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a last name. She's not important anymore.
Yeah, she lost her last name.
But think about how, like, he had to leave because she kept accidentally breaking some,
Tradition.
No, like, rule of conduct.
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, God. My brain is not working. But she kept breaking, those that just don't exist. And here's Diana,
They
like,
also
from day one flouting it.
They also weren't fond of her being the darker tones,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah.
I'm
Just saying.
just saying. There's like probably a couple of British people that listen to this podcast. They're like, you guys don't even understand what we're talking about. And we're like, no, we don't, because we got our freedom in 1776.
her spot tea and a crumpet. That's all we care about.
Those are both 2 very shitty British impressions, in case you were wondering.
Oi!
Just to say.
I feel like mine was spot on.
Okay, just as a side note for all you British people, technically the Southern accent is actually the true Queen's accent, and it was the British people that decided they needed a better accent because they didn't want to
that's actually
go
true.
roll with the
Yeah.
Southerners. Woo, woo. Which I don't have a Southern accent, so I can't say much.
Yeah, we actually speak the Lord's
Yeah,
English.
we speak the Queen's.
We
from this
speak the
motherfucker.
true Queen's English.
Yeah.
Bitches.
Oi!
Fakers.
What's all this in?
Y'all want a spot of sweet tea?
Shine your shoes for a pretty little sixpence there, governor.
For a little $5 short herring.
You want a little bit of meth? I made it in my back seat. Wait, was that
Let me show
Australian?
you shoes with my titties. With my tits.
Oh, God. We're going to get so much hate
Do the
comments
Brits
on
call
YouTube.
them titties?
I don't know.
I feel like they have a different word for it.
Yeah.
These are my dirty lumps. Let's put all our teeth back in our face and put those away.
Can you imagine Jack the Ripper like being solicited by a woman and be like, "Oh, you want to see my dirty lumps?"
No wonder he cut them off.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh shit, that gotta go."
I'm just trying to wash them for her.
Yeah, oh God, get some oil of Olay or something. Scrub it down.
So we're gonna, just bypass like the whole Rocky marriage that we
We get
Everybody
it.
knows.
They weren't in love.
right.
They were
Yeah.
together because it was a nice marriage.
Yeah, they
for
both
them.
had multiple affairs. I mean, he wasn't the only one. He probably was the only one who stuck to one person Diana, she had her share of lovers.
Well, there was like this whole rumor for a long time that Harry's dad was like her tennis instructor because there was like a similarity in how they looked.
The horse riding instructor, and they were like, wait, that was 2 years before she got pregnant.
Right.
But he really does look like the tennis instructor. Let's be honest.
Yeah. It's just a weird coinky dink.
But correlation is not causation. Let's keep that in
it's
mind.
not fair to, like, I hate, I know the royal family, blah, 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 but it's not fair, even if you're a kid, to hear that your dad's probably not your dad. That's kind of a shitty way to go about life.
The good news is he's old enough now to hear it.
Yeah. The good news,
And he's probably like, go, Mom.
Yeah. And your mom was gutter trash.
Go, little... That's too far, Chris.
Yeah.
She was a dirty lob.
With her dirty lumps.
Now, on November 20th, 1995, we had the infamous Martin Bashir documentary that he did with Lady Diana, the interview. But what a lot of people don't know is that he actually forged bank documents. So he'd been trying to get her to do an interview. She kept saying no. So he forged these bank documents, and he pretty much played on her emotions like, hey, they're spying on you. They already know everything. The best way for you to be safe is to get this out there. So suddenly, in her mind, she starts thinking of, wow, I'm under surveillance all the time.
Right.
She's married to the prince. Of course she was.
Of course she was. Like, she would have been.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, that was the life you attested to at the end of the day.
Well, in the interview, she admits to suffering from depression, bulimia, and she performed acts of self-mutilation on her arms and legs. She said at one point, like, she, would always wear, like, the sleeves to hear, not only because it was British custom for her station, but she just, she would have cuts. She was a cutter. And based on, like, all the stuff she said and all the things that she's being treated for, a lot of her, I almost said biographers, there we go.
Okay.
Believe that she had borderline personality disorder.
It's very possible.
I mean, when you think about how she could, flip into these rages, like pushed her stepmother down the stairs, and it wasn't the first time she flew off the handle. She was very passionate and maybe slightly crazy.
Yeah, and in the 80s, they weren't really big on the mental health, like, pro mental health.
She was actually the person who pushed for mental health awareness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, this is what it is.
And it's not like she could turn to anybody for help. She could talk about it, but she did in this interview.
Yeah.
Well, after this interview, 2 weeks later, the Queen sent letters and was like, that's it, you're getting a divorce. Because she also talked about both of their affairs and, shitty stuff that had happened. She talked about Camilla, and she said she felt like she was in a 3-person marriage and it was a little crowded. And the Queen was like, that's it, that's enough. You're getting a divorce. And the Prime Minister and several senior members, Chancellor, signed off on it and were like, you guys are getting a divorce. Like, at this point, you don't have a choice. We're doing it.
Which, were they the first to also get divorced?
Yeah. Well, no, Henry VIII divorced his wives.
He divorced their heads from their bodies.
Yeah.
But in his mind, he divorced them.
Right. Like, but I mean, like, since, like, the Henry VIII
Yeah,
time.
That's part of the reason he had their heads cut off was I don't think he was allowed to get a divorce while they were living.
Right. That's the whole thing with Anne Boleyn is he had I think after that he started the Church of England.
Well, and keep in mind that Prince Charles couldn't remarry while Diana was living.
Right.
So, just want to throw that out there.
Henry VIII,
yeah. But yeah, he cut her head off because she was allegedly sleeping with her brother.
Mm-hmm. So, the titles that the British royalty have and the nobility are called styles. So, Princess Diana was Her Royal Highness, and the Queen was going to let her keep that title because she was still the royal princess. She was, the heir's mom. But Charles was like, fuck that. She's not the Royal Highness. She's going to be called Diana, Princess of Wales. So that's, to this day, what we know her as. But it is interesting to note that the Queen was like... I mean, she's known her since she was born. She was Aunt Lilibet.
Well, and here's the thing. It's like, how do you have to, like, categorize between what your personal feelings for a person are and then what your position is. Like, as the Queen, like, you really are, like, marring the name. At the same time, this is, like, a child, like, a person you have known your entire life that you do have some sort of positive feelings.
She was also born into nobility. Her title would have existed even without the marriage.
She would have been Lady Diana anyway.
Yeah.
And
don't be a little bitch, Charles.
Yeah, and we had like an instance where Prince Philip had sent her a letter, and he talked about Charles as well, but he was like, your behaviors are horrific. I need you both to look at it from our point of views. You were really not doing any favors to yourself.
You're disgracing the royal family.
Yeah, basically stop. And it was said that Prince Philip and she had, he didn't really like her, So when she lost her title, she said, my title is always it will always be older than yours because he's just Prince Philip.
Mm-hmm. Oh, shit. Oh, shit, that's true.
She was feisty. A lot of people, she was very sweet, but she's feisty. He was
only Prince Philip because of his marriage to the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you still look at it like he was, the way he went about the right way. Like,
yeah,
you guys are embarrassing us. Please keep it quiet. He didn't even tell him to stop. Just behind closed doors, bro.
They say he insulted her and stuff, but even Diana said, she was very sensitive and she took it to heart, but he wasn't ugly about it and he was fair.
Yeah, he
said.
Went about it the way you're supposed to.
I'm sure it was hard for the Queen to talk to Diana about it because, keep in mind, Diana's grandmothers, both of them were her ladies in waiting.
Yeah.
And her best friends, like, if a queen can have best friends, it would have been Diana's parents. Like, she grew up with these people. And I'm sure it was hard for the Queen to,
kind of like...
The Queen probably didn't even do it. She probably had...
Yeah, she probably had Philip, like, hey, can you...
Yeah,
since I can't actually do this.
It's less painful coming from you, and it's more, hey, stop being a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Stop embarrassing the family.
Meanwhile, the Queen would probably been like, you know what, I trusted you. I've known you since you were born. I thought that you understood how these things work. So,
well, you're supposed to have. Again, she's noble. She from nobility. She's supposed to know how this works, and you don't embarrass the family.
Once again, this is why, like, our royal family was John Kennedy, and everybody knew he was a fucktard, fucking everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were cool with it.
We were all right with it. See, you got it. America.
You blow as many loads into Marilyn Monroe as you can, bro.
And we're okay with it.
Also, your brother, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe DiMaggio.
Well, so, going over this, you might think, well, why does she have the reputation she has? Because she was amazing. Her humanitarian work, I was going to write it all down. I would have written at least 3 pages just of all this work she did, but I'm just going to go over a few of them.
Okay.
So she worked a lot with the homeless, the youth, drug addicts, elderly to start. That's where she started. She was a patron of Natural History Museum, and she was the president of the Royal Academy of Dance. Goddamn, I forgot the word of. And, like, there's so many things that she did. Like, she did awareness for brain trauma and opened up wards in hospitals. She dealt with military kids whose parents were killed overseas or who just were having a difficult time. She opened up and did work with survivors of suicide. Not the suicide, but the survivors of the suicide victims. Like, if I go and yeet myself, she would have worked with you through that. And she did a lot of work with terminally ill patients, with the elderly. She did a lot of work with the dying and with the Red Cross. And then she got into where she started taking this worldwide. So in 1987, she was awarded the Freedom of the City of London, which is the highest honor the city can bestow. So at this point, the whole country is kind of turning to, we love our Princess Diana. She's wonderful. She's a commoner. Yeah.
Well, she's the people's princess.
She's the people's princess. In June 1995, she traveled to Moscow to provide hospital equipment to a children's hospital she had opened there. They gave her International Leonardo Prize, which is given to the most distinguished people in, like, medicine, sports, and art. So she's starting to get worldwide recognition to the point that in December of 95, she received the United Cerebral Palsy Humanitarian Award in New York City, and then in October 96, she went to meet with President Mandela.
She did a lot of work. I donate to the Red Cross every month.
In October 96, she received a commendation for her work with the elderly, and she was awarded a gold medal by the Piao Manzù Center in Italy, and she received the Humanitarian Award.
She got a lot of awards.
In the 80s, this is where her big work started. She started to work with AIDS patients. And she would actually touch the AIDS patients, and she would say, like, if you know of somebody who has AIDS, give them a hug because they desperately need it. She actually said it. Give them a hug because they need it.
Well, and
you can't catch AIDS.
Right. That was the big push back in the 80s is a lot of people thought that AIDS was transmissionable just by, like...
Right.
Like...
Shaking your hand or barely touching.
Or being near. It was like leprosy almost.
Exactly. Which she also worked with leprosy, and she would touch leprosy patients and say, you can't catch it. She basically started erasing the stigma of it.
Yeah.
She opened up a lot of hospitals for children with living with AIDS and young people here, like, worldwide. She did this. The Queen didn't support this type of work and told her that she should find something more suitable. But she didn't listen. She opened a landmark AIDS center and Grandma's Place in Washington, D.C. for young AIDS patients. And in 1991, she hugged an AIDS patient at the Middlesex Hospital on live TV.
Yeah.
So you see, this princess who's not afraid to, basically touch and give care. And she would go into hospital wards. She had no qualms going to any place, people with cancer, leprosy, because people even to this day think you can catch cancer.
Oh, that's real stupid.
And President Mandela praised her and said, she's using her celebrity status to erase stigma.
Ignoring the Queen, let's see how this works out for her.
Yeah. In 2009, Sir Ian McClellan and Alan Hollinghurst chose Diana's picture to hang in the Gay Icons of History, which in the exhibition, which is, for somebody to not be gay and to be the gay icon. But she really was, because let's be fair, in the 80s, these AIDS patients we're talking about were mostly gay men.
Yeah, and everybody assumed that the only way you were going to get the AIDS were going to be with the gays.
Gays and drug addicts, and that was pretty much her life's work. In October of 2017, Attitude magazine honored Diana with its Legacy Award for her work with AIDS. Prince Harry accepted on her behalf. And he and Prince William have continued a lot of her patronages and humanitarian work. She was also a patron of the Halo Trust, which is exactly what you would think. It's a military thing. But it was working with landmines and removing them from battlefields and war sites. And one of the most iconic pictures of Diana is in a flak jacket and camos walking across a battlefield and learning about landmines and helping remove them. And, as a person in the 80s and stuff, you're looking at this thinking, my God, she's not just saying this, she's doing it and living it.
Right.
Her whole life's work was about it. She was real. Her work was instrumental in the signing of the Ottawa Treaty, which banned the use of anti-personnel mines. When a member of Parliament brought it up to be signed, he honored Diana and gave her credit for this Ottawa Treaty coming into existence. And her work, actually, the international campaign to boycott landmines won the Nobel Peace Prize. Actually, the year she died.
Holy, that's
just
pretty
a few
good.
months after.
That's a lot. That's a lot to be doing.
Yeah, and honestly, we've only talked about a fourth of what she did. She was constantly busy. Now, after the divorce, she did give up a lot of it because she had to. She was a royal patron. But Charles did keep doing a lot of her work, and her sons have continued it, and whatever she could get back with, she did. But she did narrow it down to mostly working with AIDS, leprosy, the landmines, so on and so forth. We didn't even really talk about her work with cancer and leprosy that she did, especially with the elderly and her kids and substance abuse and mental health issues. When she died on August 31st, 1997, the world really did lose a beautiful soul. She was feisty, and she had her problems. She would snap. She also could easily be persuaded to be paranoid. Mm-hmm. It happened so many times. She would be called on phone calls, people were, recording it, and she never once had any guile to think that, hey, maybe this person doesn't have my best interests at heart. Somebody called her pretending to be Stephen Hawking, and she just fell for it. She chatted up. It was
the 90s. Who else had a computer voice?
Yeah, exactly.
There was just one guy.
Yeah. When she died, Lord Spencer said of her, she proved in the last year that she needed no royal title to continue her particular brand of magic. She was beloved worldwide, and she went everywhere in the world. She would go to Zimbabwe, Nigeria. She went to Bosnia-Herzegovina. She was in Serbia. She was everywhere.
Countries that don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, she came to the U.S., and she was welcomed everywhere. People respected her and honored her. Elton John rewrote Candle in the Wind and performed at her funeral, which was his only live performance. And what a lot of people don't know is every proceed and benefit goes to her and funds her charities. He gets nothing off of that. Okay, so now we get into, she was chased by the paparazzi. They ran into a pole. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Muhammad Al-Fayed, which was Dodi's father, didn't accept it. He said right from the beginning, this was planned by MI6 and the Duke of Edinburgh. In August 2008, the jury verdict for the driver was that it was
an unlawful killing.
Unlawful killing. Muhammad Al-Fayed said, you know what, I'm just going to drop it because I respect her children and then the grandchildren coming in.
Also, MI6 probably threatened him with death.
Yeah. Dude, you better
you
stop.
Drop it?
Yeah.
You also might have an accident.
Have you seen all these other people having accidents and these witnesses who suddenly don't remember anything? But here's what we found out and what Muhammad Al-Fayed has presented. One, Diana was under surveillance by the NSA. Not the normal typical surveillance, but they had thousands of pages where they recorded her every movement, which to me makes sense because she is, was royalty. She knew a lot of stuff, a lot of national secrets. So I'm like, well, that makes sense. I'm sorry, that makes sense. Paul Brunell, the butler, though, published a note that Diana had written to him that said, Prince Charles is planning a car accident. He's either going to cut my brake lines, he's going to do something, but it's going to lead to a serious head injury is their plan, and he's going to kill me in a car. I mean, because she's very good at this stuff. She's not known for her brain power. I'm not trying to be ugly, but she's not an icon of intelligence that's held up. She's an icon of humanitarianism. Right. And she's a little paranoid. But
she's a nice lady that had a bunch of money.
The driver, Henry Paul, was hired by someone's national security service. Not sure if it was British, French, Persian, U.S., but he was said to have been a hire in a plant and put there specifically where he was to set her up. Richard Tomlinson was an MI6 officer who was later dismissed and served 5 years in prison for breaking the Official Secrets Act of 1989 when he told Muhammad Al-Fayed that one of her bodyguards was MI6 and that the way she died mirrored a 1992 assassination layout for the Serbian president. And he said the way they were going to kill him was, push him into a tunnel with no exit, shine a strobe light into the driver's eyes.
Make it look like an accident.
So there was like a research, an investigation, and they were like, oh, he's lying. And, he started recanting and he'd show up, kind of broke, had nothing in life. Are you going to go back to prison? No, I'm sorry, I didn't say it. Stuff like that. So, and they're like, oh, you know what? This was an assassination attempt, but it wasn't even for the person you said it was. And it kind of looked like smoke and mirrors when they were explaining it. Like, yes, assassination attempt, but it's not for the one you said you saw.
Right.
So he's like
gaslighting almost.
Yeah, it's like, well, I saw it. Maybe I got the name wrong, but I did see this. And then we have where Diana was pregnant by Dodi and the couple were about to be engaged. That's what Muhammad is saying. He said, they picked up the ring. And here's the thing. Right before the accident, Diana calls, I want to say it was a butler, somebody in her house. It wasn't a press secretary. And she was like, hey, what kind of news is coming out about me tomorrow? Which is a really weird question. Like, what's coming out? And he was like, I haven't heard anything coming out about you tomorrow. And she was like, you sure nothing in the news? Which I think she was like, did they get pictures of us coming out of the ring shop? Which is what Muhammad said.
Right.
She was like, what's happening here? And the reason this, like her having a baby by Dodi, a Muslim man, and getting married to him, because you have to think about it, even though her title is Diana, Princess of Wales, she is still royal family.
Yeah. She
is mother to the heirs. And as that status, if something happened to William and Harry, whatever kid she spawned, I don't know how else to say it, but any other person could be considered third in line.
Or any sort of adjacent line to begin with. They take on some designation of royal family title just by proxy. I mean, Prince Philip wasn't even a royal. Yeah. And so he married into the family in general. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Yeah. And, it's not only would it would be a Muslim man who would be king, which, completely goes against.
Yeah, they're not having that.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that a king making his own religion is something that we shouldn't see happen? Like changing it up for the purposes of what they want to quote unquote believe in? Oh my
goodness. And that the UK hasn't, I mean, they've never fought wars over religion.
No, never. Ever.
The other thing is that it said nobody in the car wore seatbelts. Now, Diana was a stickler for seatbelts. This is the thing that her friends and family are like, something's off. Because any picture you see of her in a car, seatbelt. She's always worn her seatbelts. She did a lot of actually like social statements where, wear your seatbelts. They save lives. And then when they went over the car in the crime scene, all the seatbelts worked except Diana's. Her seatbelt had been tampered with. So even if you want to say, you know, none of this makes sense, at some point you have to recognize why was her seatbelt tampered with?
Yeah.
And they knew the spot she'd be in the car, like, she always sat in the same place. And all the others worked except hers. Crazy. That to me is just...
a weird quinky-dink?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so there was a trial for the driver on repo, and they said, you know, his intoxication limit was 4 times the legal, you know, French limit, which, by the way, is much higher than ours. And he was on antidepressants at the same time. And then, you know, somebody else does a blood test, and they're like, he maybe had 2 drinks the entire night. And plus, he was known to be an alcoholic. He didn't deny it. But they have him on CCT. He's like, not while I'm working. They have him on CCT footage, and he looks perfectly sober. But then you keep having these things. He's drunk. And it's just strange. And then they're like his salination in his breath, and he was also smoking cigarettes, and that affected his blah blah blah.
Wow. Okay.
And that ranged anywhere from like a smoker has 10% to like he was up to 20, and then they're like, no, it was just 12. It's just constant numbers being thrown that it's hard to keep track of. Was he drunk or wasn't he? But they're saying that he was under the influence, which if he was a plant, you know, okay.
Yeah.
Also, how'd you survive?
Out of everybody in the car. Mm-hmm. Especially the one, well, if he was drunk, you know, a lot of drunk drivers end up surviving a lot of more fatal car crashes where other passengers don't. But you never know.
Yeah. Well, Diana was alive after the crash, and the paparazzi, as she's dying, is filming her in her face. And she says, you know, my God, what has happened? And then they take her. And they have some really weird transferring her from hospital to hospital, which also doesn't make sense to me. But, or to Muhammad Al-Fayed, he's like, none of this makes sense. And I think he knows he's never going to get
an answer,
you know, an inquest to say this was murder.
No. Especially if it's a royal family cover-up. I mean, who is ever going to come out and say anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of people think that Prince Charles had her killed so he could remarry. You know, yeah, and yeah,
but,
he just wanted to be done with her, and she was increasingly getting more and more popular to the point that the people were, you know, honoring her more than the Queen. Yeah, the Queen was actually starting to get boos, and Diana, no matter where she went, I mean, like you said, she was a people's princess. That's what they call her, the people's princess.
Well, and on top of it, it's not the first time the royal family's ever killed their spouses to remarry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. At least he did try and cut her head off, so yeah. It very well could have happened.
It's just we live in a time in which the media exists where it's much more prevalent to see these things happening. Mm-hmm. Especially, I mean, I remember we were at a vacation when this happened. Like, I think we were in Tybee, and I just remember my mom like running and turning the TV on, and all over the news was this story about Princess Diana dying in a car accident, and everybody just was like, even though it was worldwide, I mean, it was like, people were just shocked.
Well, I was on my way home from college, and I mean, this is weird. I was at a motel having a hookup and coming back. Anyways, almost to Carrollton, and you know, it was on, the TV was on, and I was like, wait, what? We need to stop. I need to listen. It was devastating. And the girl I was with, she started crying. I was like, ooh, look at the time. I gotta go.
Oh, you're showing emotions now? We gotta get out of here.
It's a hookup. I don't even want you to talk.
Just shut up and spread your legs.
Yeah. I don't need your emotions. This is getting weird. But yeah.
Well,
it was one of those, where were you when you heard?
That's like 9/11. I think everybody remembers where they were when that happened.
Yeah.
But
I remember where I was when Challenger exploded. You were probably an egg.
What year did it explode?
86.
Yeah, I wasn't even in existence at that point. I remember where I was. I was in my mom's tummy.
Not yet.
I was in her uterus. It was in her egg sac.
You You're in the ovary. Yeah, I was gonna say you may have entered the fallopian tube at that point, but you were probably still in the ovary.
Yeah,
causing her pain every month in her period.
Nice.
And your dad's Oscar Mayer wiener was.
How do you always bring it right back, man? Come on, nah.
Because I'm good at that.
Good, but I mean, it's sad. Either which way, it's sad. You know, unfortunately, if it was the paparazzi that led to it, it's sad because that's just the state of celebrity in general. Yeah. If it was a bad night for that driver, man, you picked the wrong people to die.
Well, and it was such a combo of the aggressive paparazzi, like chasing them, the driver, and it was just a. What do they say that when all these bad things come together?
Perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm.
Yeah. Damn.
Maybe next week I'll understand English and words because I'm like, what was that word?
How do words worded?
What's that word? Car.
Alrighty.
Well, that's it. So let us know what you guys think. I'm curious, and I hope the MI6 doesn't come after me because I didn't do anything, or the MS.
But the most important question we need y'all to answer: who did the best British accent throughout this entire series today?
I'd like to think it was me.
I don't know. It sounded kind
of bad. It was me who did the best
lumps.
accent.
I'm going to vote for Bobby.
Sir, you're part of this.
Also, MI6, I appreciate the good work you guys do, and keep that gutter trash out of my patriarchy.
Dirty lob.
We had to have the one incel in one episode.
Mm-hmm. Fucked a woman.
I just hate the British.
Mm.
Except for Gary. Gary,
Yeah. Gary's alright.
But everybody else, you got no seasonings in your food. We got a problem.
And it's a cookie.
Yeah.
Not a biscuit.
It's not a biscuit. It's a cookie. They're French fries, not chips.
And malt vinegar is not fucking seasonal, you fucking animals. Bangers and mash.
Food? Like.
Fucking baked beans and tomatoes for breakfast. Like that.
Oh, yeah. One of my friends who was in England.
Oh, I gotta get a plate of full English. Ugh. I'd have to eat that shit.
Baked beans and tomatoes, what we eat at lunch at a barbecue.
Yeah.
And I don't eat the tomato.
Meats involved.
Pulled pork. That sounds delicious, actually.
And what's involved after that is horrific gas.
Ugh.
We're like insulting part of our listener base by talking about it.
Don't care.
Yeah, I would say 30% of our listeners are from there.
Listen.
I love blood sausage. Of course, I do come from that way.
That way?
That way.
Yeah, but you have an entire cabinet full of seasonings. I think you're okay.
I do. And I minimum... There's 5. Minimum. 5 seasonings.
Always.
I'm not giving you people shit, but my people almost died because they couldn't plant anything but potatoes, so I don't fucking... I don't come from good stock either.
Not a good chicken stock, not a good beef broth stock.
Goddamn potatoes, man.
Every time somebody talks about it, I'm like, fucking grow some corn, you dicks. But nope, just potatoes.
Something that gives you no nutritional value.
So apparently... Back before the potato famine, the average Irishman ate 12 pounds of potatoes a day.
The fuck?
A day.
How do you eat so many? No wonder
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
we're all fucking short and fat.
Yeah.
This is the stuff we come from.
Starch.
But
I was about to say, I'm going to keep y'all in... Well, my mom's like a quarter Irish, but I'm half Persian.
We were born just behind, like, the
my people brought
train.
Spices to the other regions.
True.
Please.
True.
Our people took them from your people and moved them.
Nice. What happened to... Where did they move him to, Chris?
What happened to the Persian Empire, Becky?
It's a theocracy now. I know that, Angie. What happened to the Irish?
They're still there.
They're there.
They fight every day.
I was like,
they still drink.
And eat potatoes. It's funny. I still drink and eat potatoes, too.
They still have a predilection for alcohol. That hasn't ended.
Oh, my God. That is why I love whiskey so much. Oh, whiskey. I'm just like, let me have some of that corn whiskey.
Why do you sound like an angry Southern person when you say it, though?
Because I am. Yes.
Have you met her?
Have you ever played any game with me ever? I can't even play Stardew without getting salty about something.
Do you really?
No, not really.
Casey, every time she goes into Stardew, she's like, "Hi, Patricia." And goes there and pets the cow.
Yes.
Hi, Lucille.
I do
and
too.
And she names them all.
Yes.
Like, oh.
And I put a lot of thought. And Becky will never come visit my chickens, cows, and pigs. And I'm constantly bitching at my pigs because if they get out, they will eat your crops. They're pigs.
Casey I was watching her one day and they were all spread about eating grass. She's like, they like grass better than hay. I'm like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a small child.
But hay is really expensive if you have to buy it. So It is better to let them eat the grass and store the hay for winter.
She's making truffle oil or
and
else
you get a lot of money from that.
She's got a shit ton of cash.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. She's like, yeah, it makes a lot of truffle oil every day.
Yeah, truffle oils and mayonnaise. Tons of money. Yeah,
mayonnaise.
Tons of money. And then you can make cheese from the milkets. Yeah, I always like to do the artisan goods than the farming. I mean, I do both because I'm greedy.
Yeah, she does both.
Yeah. Gets tons of money.
And whenever y'all are playing together, I'm like, go cut down the fruit trees.
I planted them where nobody can find them. Like, literally, I'm not saying.
I think Becky walked past her one day and like, go stab her with your axe. And she's like, I can't do that. I'm like, how do you know? Have you tried?
I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Okay, guy, bye. Yep, see ya.
All right, bye, everybody.
Love you.
Bye, British people.
Stardew Valley's the best.
Sorry about losing your support, Brits.
Bye.
TheFreeRotation.